In this episode, I was stoked to be joined by UmbrellaBoy, who is one of the leading structure ornament creators with his I-Series Metaventure within the Upland Metaverse. He is also one of the node managers for the always impressive Halloween-themed Creedmoor Hub. UmbrellaBoy has been in Upland since early 2021, having a literal baptism of fire during the infamous Brooklyn burns, and went on to becoming a highly respected and heavily engaged Upland community member. His eye-themed structure ornaments are truly a sight to behold, with incredible attention to details, not just in the designs, but also in the mechanics and the lore surrounding his series, creating one of the most visually stunning and well thought out Metaventures in the Upland Metaverse to date. We discuss his journey into and through all of that, of course, as well as diving into a number of both historical and contemporary Upland topics. So whether you're a discerning eyeball connoisseur, eyeball curious, or like us, you just can't get enough Upland related content, I'm sure there'll be plenty of eyebrow raising stuff for you in our conversation, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. After all, if like UmbrellaBoy, you're always keeping an eye out for the details, then you might also find yourself with your eyes on the prize in the Metaverse and beyond.
Warning, the information, opinions, events solely for views of the individuals involved contains content not suitable for anyone.
And we're going. All right. Thank you very much. And welcome back to another episode of the Metaverse and Beyond podcast series. Today, we're featuring the eyebrow-raising, the eye-catching UmbrellaBoy. How are we doing this afternoon, Friday for you, Saturday morning for me, mate?
I'm doing good. How about you, Ben?
Yeah, it was actually, as you know, we're in a bit of negotiations to try and settle on a time for this. Usually I get up at 4:30 to do these and kick off live at, well, not live, but start recording at 6. But we pushed this back to 9 o'clock. So I thought I've had all the time in the world this morning. I'm fart-assing around and I looked at the clock. I was like, holy crap, I better hurry up. So bit of a scramble right at the end there.
No worries at all. Like I slowed it today. Give me some time to catch up on your latest show. So I listened to you and Swirly talk about Happy Sparklet Week, by the way.
Yep.
So wait, how did your drop end up? Did you get your full amount? What?
Oh yeah, I got nearly 60,000.
60,000 extra. So you bought. What did you say? You bought 10, so you got 6x.
I really don't know how many I bought. I'm guessing 10. It might be. I don't think it'd be as high as 12. I really genuinely have no clue. I guess you could probably find out somehow, but yeah, I'm pretty happy. I'm just under, because we're getting a secondary drop for the ones that you've earned. So
right, yeah. Well, see, I have a bunch of Spark, but I've grinded for mine, so I'm in the waiting phase. So I'm anxious to see how that all ends up. It was interesting to me, and I know you bought all your Spark, so it was interesting to me that they ended up like kind of having like class A and class B shares with Spark. You know, like
yep.
I know some people have been out of shape about that, but I thought that was an interesting thing they did.
Yeah, well, I was checking out Twitter. That's one of the reasons I was running late. I was laying in bed this morning, scrolling through Twitter, and there's a lot of upset people. I guess they probably didn't get the information that it was going to be broken into those two airdrops. The first airdrop, of course, being for the buyers, the second for the grinders. So people have seen myself and others putting out these tweets of, look what I've got. And of course, you can understand that if you didn't know there was a secondary one coming, you'd be like, what the hell?
Go bonkers, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if I've told you that I'm a crypto dum-dum. I don't know, that's one of the great things about Upland is that I'm learning about things that, I don't really know a lot about. So this whole process is very interesting to me because it's not something I've experienced or I have, a lot of it, I set up a MetaMask recently. I bought a little Ethereum. I'll probably at some point, just for the fun of it, buy a little Sparklet. But now, how is it in your experience? How has the release gone? Price wise, and is it been a success or has it been less than a success?
We all knew what was going to happen. It's the price is going to get in. It's going to find its bottom. It's going to reestablish, and because the mainstream doesn't know what Upland is. Once the word on that gets out there, once Upland becomes part of the conversation with Sandbox and Decentraland, and people look into it more, and they think, what, I can actually buy a property here for $3, or I get some free UPEX and I can essentially get a free property or whatever. That will change. So the drop in the price, I wasn't surprised with that at all. The only thing I was really surprised with was the initial starting price. I thought that was, quite low. But then we've seen the kind of amount of additional spark that we've been airdropped as part of Upland's way to kind of preemptively address that. And it's one of those things. If I had purely bought, if I was somebody who had just purely bought 10 Sparklet or 10 Spark before it got converted to the 10,000 Sparklet, I may feel a lot different than, having been around for so long. I got airdropped a crap load. Back in the day, they used to do competitions where you could win a full Spark. I got at least one of those as the first place, and I got a bunch of second, thirds, fifths. So, probably before all this kicked off, I had 30 Spark, probably, I think, it'd be at least 15 of those I didn't buy.
You didn't buy, yeah.
So,
but 15, buying 10 Spark is it's a chunk of change. But at the same time, when you bought it, you didn't have any idea you could pull it out.
That's right.
We were always told it was going to be kind of permanently attached to your account. So it was an interesting change of philosophy to me that they went that direction.
Yeah, and there's other information at play there too. I believe it's probably close to 6 of those Spark that I did buy was based on the profits that we made in the first release of the Samurai Aquatics map assets when they first come out. Yeah. So again, it's magical internet money. I'm not taking money out of the family's, bank account sort of thing. So that's a little bit different. So maybe I could pull that up actually. We can have a look at that.
Yeah.
The Sparklet price. Where are we? Coin market cap. So this is the coin market cap. So let me just change that view to there. So what do we got here? So yeah, coin market cap doesn't show a lot of data, but obviously came out the gate. 14 cents, something like that, and now we're down to 6 cents. Not surprised at all there. But if we go to where should we go? Markets, yeah. So I was surprised actually with all of the kind of announcements and promotion about BitGet. It's actually not the most. It's not the most voluminous exchange at the moment. That's HTX. That we've got 24-hour volume of 11,000 there compared to BitGet. Oh no! Look at that. Sorry, no, I can't bloody read. 242,000. Yeah. I wasn't
do you think
looking
there's
at
a couple of people that's bumping it up on HTX like that? Is that just like a handful of people that are buying thousands of dollars, or is that hard to say, right?
Well, that's what's so interesting about this is we're essentially, I keep saying we, like I own the freaking game or something, but we are early adopters. So I guess we have some kind of parental, I don't know what you say, ownership about it or something like that. So yeah, I will continue to say that, no doubt. But we're putting the baby out in just the absolute Wild West in the hands of speculators who they don't care about the fundamentals. They don't care about any of the freaking anything. All they want to do is pump and dump and get their percentages. So yeah, it's an interesting one. So this is actually the BitGet Sparklet to USD price here. That's the 1 hour. So yeah, I mean, big massive green candle. And I liked Swaley's take on this. He kind of give me a bit of a reality check. Like, what would you rather see? Would you rather it have come out on the exchange at a higher price and then just see a massive red candle dump? Mm-hmm. Or would you rather see it come down low and a big nice green candle to get it kicked off? So yeah,
right.
I liked, but as a general trend, you can see the direction it's heading.
Yeah. Now that's what I'm trying to figure out. Just in like, so 1,000 Sparklet was roughly $500 US or 480, right? Is that the right?
460, something like that,
460, so that's-
59.99. Yeah.
So that's roughly 46. What is that? 46 cents of sparklet,
Yes.
and then
Yep.
and then they dropped another times 5 on you. So divide by 6. So that's roughly 8 cents a spark is what the going rate was around plus or minus.
I don't know. You're asking me to do math.
I'm doing
I
rough
have no
math.
clue.
So it's a little
Yeah,
lower.
yeah.
It's a little lower than you probably bought it for, but it's not terrible, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would not be at all surprised to see a big, thick red candle, jump in here. I don't think. Well, then there's 242,000 volume. That's quite significant. Yeah, I mean, well, and we do know that the American user base does not have access to this market. So
to that market, but we have the Uniswap or whatever. We can do it there.
Yeah. So that's, I mean, that will have eased some of that downward pressure, undoubtedly.
To me, the big signal is that so they dumped all this spark in the market. Like I have I have 27 or so spark, and so now I went from being like a top 150 spark holder to now I don't know where I am now, right? Like I'm there's much feeling of spark. So there has to be, what's the signal there? Is it are they gonna adjust the spark rates, building rates? Are they adding a huge new utility, whether it's charging your cars or transportation economy? Like, to me, there's a signal there that like all of a sudden there's a bunch of spark. There's got to be more use for it. I feel like it's not just to like build more buildings, but that's what excites me, because to me that's a signal that like something else is coming.
Yeah, it's undoubtedly the whole thing's going to be rebalanced. That's why I'm kind of just, as soon as I got that sparklet airdrop, what did I do with it? Did I immediately try and get it out? No. What did I do? I put up more buildings to build.
Right.
I bumped up the construction rate in my factory. So
I think you're gonna need it. You're gonna there's something coming that you're gonna be like want to have it. So to me, Upland is all about a game of like trying to reading the signals and trying to figure out what's coming and when and how to take advantage of it. That's the fun part, though.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you say you were in the top 150 or whatever the spark holders. That's where a lot of people have got a bit upset as well. Like, I'm not a treasure hunter, so I haven't done any of that. But if you're somebody who's invested 500 hours, 1,000 hours in grinding away, and then Joe Schmo, who just happened to be in a position where they could buy 5, and they just smoke you on the overall leaderboard and the holdings, you can understand that there's a bit of bad feelings there.
But the thing I've learned about Upland is that you got to kind of be even keel and roll with the punches a little bit, because there's stuff's going to happen. It's going to and it ends up evening out, and you don't know, like, we don't know what the drop is for the earned spark drop. Like, it could be I imagine it'll be less, but I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried.
Yeah, me neither. I like Lilyfield's take on it. Just go with the flow, just like you said, roll with the punches.
It's funny. When I first started, I started in Brooklyn when Brooklyn opened. That's when I got introduced to it, and
that was right into the fire.
Yeah. There was a lot of craziness going on, and like some of it was like, what is this? Like there's that like you buy and sell those initial properties, and you're like like, what is this? What like, this is amazing. And then you're like, what is this game? What is this janky game that like, and they had that like Brooklyn midnight opening, where all of a sudden like a bunch of properties got unlocked, and a handful of people, just like gobbled up a bunch of, collection properties, and like I feel like that was my like, like I was new to Discord. I didn't quite understand how it works, and I feel like I had one of those like if I looked it up and looked at like those early, like, I'm sure I was raging on the Discord, and in hindsight, it's like it's not that big a deal. Like it's like anything else. Some people get lucky and are in the right place at the right time. Some people, like it all evens out. I've had plenty of good luck, and it's roll with the punches, because part of the fun is the surprises.
Absolutely. Yeah. So there's a lot of shenanigans going on with that, of course.
Yeah.
How are you going with this this second round of airdrops? You're all over that?
The second round of airdrops.
Yeah, the airdrop campaign that's going on. You got to like and
the Twitter
share
thing.
and
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm. I've been doing it. It's fine. I feel like I spent a little more time trying to come up with like creative things to try to like up engagements, but I haven't really seen the results of that yet.
Yeah.
I just passed 1,000 Twitter followers, though. I was very excited about that.
Nice.
I bragging to my family, who I'm insufferable too. So
A little mini celebration. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's about where I am. Like I think everyone's done the same, right? You haven't got a multiplier yet, have you?
No, I started off slow. I think I might have missed a few of the first campaigns.
I don't know if you did. I think that looks like about what I looked at. That's what I have, but
all right. Well, maybe I didn't. Oh no, yeah, it looks like I've got it. I guess I was surprised that there was talk that it was going to be different from the first one, and at least visually, it's not different. So maybe it's just all in the algorithm. That's.
I thought it was going to be more than just Twitter. I thought there was talk of there's going to be other activities, but
yeah.
Maybe it's still early. I mean, maybe there is. I don't know.
Yeah, obviously they've been quite busy with all of that Sparklet release stuff. So
for sure,
when you see the amount of exchanges and the level of exchanges that they're on, there would have been. I would hate to think how many hours of meetings got gobbled up sorting all that out.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's kind of understandable. All right, one other thing that's kind of stuck out to me, I had a bit of not a whine, but how do I say this nicely? Just absolutely godsmacked with this last night as I was getting ready to go to bed.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see this? So Upland's put this tweet out: 288 Treasure Island properties are yours for the taking. Bridge the most sparkling in Upland via BitGet Global on a DEX by August 5th and claim your prize. Okay, we know that BitGet was part of this. They bought Treasure Island or a deal. What do you think about the visuals on this?
Yeah, that's I hadn't seen this yet, and you're pointing it out to me, and that like you don't see a lot of Upland previs.
No.
Yeah, that's a little oversold to me. I don't know. That's not going to look like that, is it? I mean, it looks nice.
It's very disingenuous. I've tweeted it when I went to bed. I said I'd love to see this level of detail in Upland, but I mean, come on, that's just pure fantasy. Try scrolling Midtown Terrace or any other developed neighborhood, even with enhanced graphics turned off. It's a relentless white screen crashing loop, and it's been like that for years. So.
Especially on mobile. I mean, on desktop it's not bad, but on mobile you can't do it. That drives me crazy too. But yeah, maybe someday. I don't know.
Maybe it's the stretch goal. Because this looks absolutely incredible.
This looks great. You got docks there. Boats must be coming.
Yep.
Look,
cars actually driving on the road.
Oh my gosh, that feels like this is futuristic for sure. Yes. Look at them zip around the car. And look at that. That's pretty great. I'm looking forward to that.
Just going to zoom in where I am, but apparently I've been over at Treasure Island again. I don't know what the hell is up with that. I'm just forever over at Treasure Island.
Drawn to it.
That's it over there. But what is the actual reality of what we look like? Well, we can zoom in there. So it does look cool, but it's nowhere near the level of detail in that tweet. So, and I won't stay in there too long. Otherwise, this laptop's going to crash and burn. I'll zoom out of there. So yes, I thought that was quite a strange thing. Maybe, as I said, maybe it's a predictor of something to come. But I'd hate to think of the level of optimization they're going to have to do on mobile to get something like that working.
Yeah, that feels a little down the road. I'm trying to submit some new ornaments, and they're taking a while to get their specs together again. So one of these days, you just got to be patient.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Other news, of course. is that we had Paris was officially announced as being released just after Swally and I were talking about all of our reasons why it wouldn't. What do you know? A couple of hours later.
Yeah. What do you think about those new kind of selling mechanics, the like pre-sales and
I've read the headline. I haven't looked at any of the details. I'm actually, after I get done with you today, I'm going to get together with Swally for a kind of a mini pod to go through it all. He's dived into it in a bit of detail, and he wasn't very impressed. So I figured I'd save my take on things for. I tend to just capture things on the fly when I look at it and give my initial impressions.
I try to read the announcement. I always feel like you have to read the announcements, 3 or 4 times before you actually understand what's going on. And I think it's interesting. There's a pre-sale element where they're going to, before the city opens, they're going to sell properties and bundles, and which is interesting, I guess. But it's not really that much different than the passes. So it's like pre-sale before, passes for after, release in the middle. They're going back to the they're not going to reveal collections until they're all minted out. So there's like collection reveals longer. But I thought it's kind of, I'm interested by it. I'm a little old school. I kind of like the city openings. I kind of like collection speculation. I certainly don't go hog wild or anything, but I think it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah, when I kind of at stupid AM yesterday morning before work, I kind of flash scrolled through, and there was 2 things that stuck out to me, and kind of based on the conversations I had with Swally as well. Number one, they're still calling these freaking things bundles. If you buy one property, is that a bundle? That ain't a freaking bundle. You can call it a pack, I suppose.
I'll have to look, but there is bundle. There is actual bundles. There's like 3 property bundles that they are selling. So do they call them all bundles?
Maybe I believe so.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, that's just a stupid little gripe. I think that's a good idea. If you can't get involved, you can buy one of those. I did think it was. I liked that it was UPX, but then if you want to get the good one, if you want a showroom size property, like the only real property that I want to get in Paris is a showroom size property. That's freaking USD. Well, that excludes me from the get go.
Right.
So,
but for you're probably better off just going to the release and just like it's not going to sell out. Like you're going to have like chances at those properties unless you're looking for something specific or special. I think.
Yes. Well, nowadays you might be better off waiting until a week after collection reveal and gobble up all the undermints. So,
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
The other thing
about Paris, or are you not your?
I'm excited that it's not another bloody US city. That's exciting.
Yeah, sure.
To get out there more in the world and get word will spread. People in Paris like Nosif and that they'll be able to say to their friends, "Look, you can buy your bloody grandma's house or her apartment." Or
I'm always excited when like community. There's a nice French community, and like when they get their chance. Like when something in Australia opens up for you, I'm gonna be super excited for all the Australians. Again, like when I first discovered Upland, I was buying some Brooklyn, and I was like. And there was a new city opening, and I was like, I live in Los Angeles, and I was like, I got to buy my house. They're going to open that eventually. I got to stick around. And the main reason I stuck around for a while is like, I can't let someone else own the digital version of my house. And
that'd be a weird feeling.
Yeah, and so like Los Angeles opened up, and I feel like I was like, everyone's like gobbling up the hot spots, and I'm like trying to aim my trail just to like the one little property that no one cares about, just to make sure no one swiped it out from under me. But that's
you got it.
Yeah, I got it. I bought a bunch of my friends' houses, and that's super fun when you can do that. And, if you're lucky enough to live in a city in the game, that's pretty great.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I tried to do that with some of my. I work with a whole bunch of Brazilians, and I tried to do that with some of their parents' houses, but they were all just outside of the open area to mint. So yeah, I missed out on it. But yeah, that's a bit of fun. So yes, Paris itself. No, I don't. I do have a nice balance there that I've been saving up. will I do what I did in Bermuda in Paris as far as minting up a few and then flipping for USD? I probably will, because I've got my last book tattoo appointment due. I think that's next week, and if I want to get it finished off, well, I need some more money. So I might.
Yeah, that's the name of the game. That's like that. I certainly don't begrudge you that. Like, yeah, I'm kind of at the stage where, I don't buy a lot. I tend to buy. I'm a big fan of, like hot, like potential collection streets in good neighborhoods that might be collections. So you kind of get that double chance. So that I usually try to aim for a couple of those. And last few releases, it's kind of worked out for me. So I'll probably do that. And but I don't go hog wild anymore. I buy at least 3 because I know I can get a collection there. And if I buy a few more if I feel good, and usually leave town with about 10 properties, and spend a little bit. But no, I'm excited. It's fun.
Yeah, and I think the other thing, now I might be completely talking out of my ass here too, but it sounded like they were, and it almost feels like Swally and I spoke this into existence after we were both whining about, make it more inclusive to other parts of the world, split it up, different release times.
Yeah,
I believe they're doing a staggered release over 2 days, but it's the same freaking 9 a.m. PT time.
Yeah, they're clearly locked into that time. Like they don't want to pay overtime, or that and that's super. I'm on Upland time, so it works out for me. But I can see where that's totally frustrating for you, and for people that don't live in the time, or work during those times, or I wish they'd do more staggering, especially for sales. Like, there's no reason why everything needs to be sold at 8 a.m. Why can't something be sold at 1 p.m. or 4 p.m. It's frustrating.
Yes.
I feel your pain for sure.
Nice. Yeah, I guess in that regards, I'm interested in Paris so far. I mean, it sounds selfish, but as to what I can get out of it. Like I said, I want a showroom property there, and I probably will get 2 extra for the generic collection. It was interesting, actually. I talked about this previously, the release of Bermuda, where I wasn't going to take part, and then because my daughter was sick, I happened to be awake when it went live, and I just went that, like you said, that old mentality, that Brooklyn burn mentality. Smash and grab, get what you can as fast as you can before it's gone. And that's exactly what I did. But I was looking around, and it's like, where is everybody?
Oh, because we were all locked. Like, I was at G Week, and we were all locked out, and so you were just
Well, it wasn't even just that. Once it came back on, I'm just used to that same mentality of, mint as fast as you can. But that same level of intensity, it just wasn't there. And a lot of that's to do with the price increase, the baseline price increases.
There's still a scramble for the high value, shoreline properties, or hot neighborhoods. There's still that scramble for that. But the miscellaneous neighborhoods, it's there was a time there where was it Bronx, and things were selling out, minting out completely in hours, right? And
yes.
Now, and I know they've always said that their goal is not to do that. They want if a player starts today, they want to be able to I can buy a property in London and there's stuff available, which makes sense. But there was something exciting about that. If I don't buy this now, who knows what it's going to cost?
Yeah.
And being able to flip instantly, and it's not quite the same, but again, the game changes a little bit. There's other things going on. So I'm rolling with the punches again.
Yes, well, the game changes a lot. Back in the day, it used to be scrolling the San Francisco map with a magnifying glass on my phone and with pen and paper, noting down, okay, this property is 1,900. I bet you I can find one for 1,700 if I look hard enough.
I love how, and I'm guilty of it too. Back in the day, back in the day was 3 years ago, right? It didn't sometimes we talk it was we were 5 years old walking to school in the snow or whatever. But
Yes.
it wasn't really that long ago, relatively. But like that's when you realize like the game's changed a lot. Like it feels like it feels like it's, in some ways it feels like that was a long time ago because things are so much different when there's like now there's map assets and buildings and cars and like they don't quite do what we want them to do, but they're on their way.
Do you have kids?
I do have kids. Yes, I have teenagers. I have a 16-year-old and an 18-year-old.
Yeah, so I kind of I've related to it like that in the past, where you see your kids every day, presumably. So you don't necessarily notice how much they're changing, how much they're growing. Exactly. But if you go and see your nieces and nephews, once a year or something, you're mind blown. What the hell's happened?
Yeah. If you take year by year, a lot of things have happened, and I think sometimes, there's a lot of people complain it just things don't happen fast enough or get impatient, but it is a long term thing. It's a long term game. It's not for the it's not instant gratification.
Yeah, usually. Absolutely. Yeah, that's what I kind of like. I started doing it a few years ago. The end of year shows that we've done, I kind of go through the entire list of the main events that it's in the Upland Medium, the articles, and it takes ages to put that together, and it's just one thing after the other after the other. It's like 2 weeks ago we were saying that there's nothing going on, and wait for the anticipation or enjoy the anticipation, and then this week, holy crap!
Yeah, so Sparklet in Paris, and yeah.
Super fun times. Yes. Now, it's one other bit of news that just popped up before. Have you seen this? The Upland Summer Games Speed Champions Team Contest.
While we were waiting to go on, I was just reading that. I'm not. I've done it some. I'm not a huge racer, but I imagine that's. I like the team aspect of it. I think there should be more team stuff. So I was excited about that idea. But this isn't quite for me. But again, I think that's fine too. I think I like that we're at the stage now where there's things I can pass on and feel like I'm still playing the game.
Yeah, it all come together. Like we were speculating if they were going to do something in Paris, obviously it might have had something to do with the Olympics. And then, we were discussing, is there some kind of legal implications that they couldn't officially mention it? But they're full on. It might not be officially linked, but they're definitely diving into that angle, aren't they? So Summer Olympics. Yeah.
I don't think they use a logo or anything, but
yeah. It'll probably fall under fair use, that sort of stuff. So, that's cool. Teams of 3 will compete for the fastest times. Just like the athletes at the Olympics, you'll need speed, strategy, and teamwork to claim victory. The stakes are high and the rewards are even higher. Okay, well, I haven't had a look at this. What's the rewards? Okay, so it's a stadium. You go and do some stuff. Here we go again. 9 a.m. PT, my favorite. Disruptors rewards. Each member of the winning team will receive a custom team tracksuit featuring their team logo. Well, that's cool.
That's pretty cool.
They can proudly wear. Yeah. They can proudly wear in Track Hero cafes and other 3D spaces in Upland to showcase their achievement. Additionally, they will earn an exclusive badge, and the badges, fair enough. First place, you get the tracksuit, you get the badge. 200 UPEX for 200,000 UPEX for each team member. That's nice. And then 150, 100, blah, blah, blah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's good to see them upping the prizes for that sort of stuff. It kind of, some of these things started to getting a bit weird, like all of these massive bloody competitions that Upland were doing, and it's like win 10,000 UPEX, win 20,000 UPEX, but a lot of the community stuff, we're in the 50s and 100s pretty regularly. So
UPEX isn't what it used to be, for sure.
Yeah, yes, that's a good way to look at it. All right, is there anything else on your radar as far as general contemporary Upland news?
Upland news, I think you covered a lot of it. No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
Yeah, maybe just as a general kind of tie in with some other things, how did you go with totems, and are you looking forward to the second chapter of totems? I think that's probably the next big thing that's
that is
people are
next.
hanging out for.
I went I'm not saying I went really big, like, I owned dozens and dozens of totems, but I went, I bought a lot of totems. I got really excited about the solving the puzzle aspect of it, like figuring out the times. And so I was a big part of the community, figuring out the secret to totems, when to feed them, how much to feed them, and so that was really exciting to me. That was actually one of my of my time in Upland. That's one of my favorite times, was that kind of like that, like, unknown, deciphering the information. I thought they did a pretty good job of like giving enough information to figure it out. And a big community effort of sharing data and stats, and just trying to figure out how they worked. So yeah, and I'm excited to do that again. I think I know people are, again, impatient for things to start, but if they were going back to back with those things and having to feed things 8 hours a day, or 12, three times a day or twice a day, that would have been a lot. So I don't mind the break. I think I can do that for a period of time, and then I need a break. But I think totems are cool. Did you like totems? I can't remember. Did you participate in them?
I went on a bit of a roller coaster with it. Initially, I thought they looked quite garish. Like when you saw all the color scheme, I was like, oh, that looks a bit weird. So I don't know. I was a bit put off by that. But then I got one, and then I thought, oh, actually, when you take a look at these, some of them, the detail on them, it actually looks quite cool.
Yeah.
So then it was kind of not a comedy of errors, but it was just a kind of a right place, right time. I happened to have had a few USD sales come through, and I kind of went a bit crazy buying some up. And then once I think I might have had 3 different types. And then I was part of that whole FOMO speculation about, okay, perhaps they're going to do something, really cool for those who have a full set. So then I went, that's kind of what you're talking about. Like, as far as that was the fun part for me, was, okay, now I have to research. I want one of each of these. Obviously, I don't want to rip myself off. So there was a lot of, DMs, negotiations. If we do this, can we do this? And there was a couple of cases. I think it was the Gorilla. I was in San Francisco, and there was 2 in Chicago at a really good price.
Getting the race in over there.
Yeah. And one of them got bought as I was on the way over there.
I had a couple of those too, where you're like, oh my god, that's the best price. I got an hour to fly over there. Am I gonna get it? I don't know. Yeah, that's stuff's fun. The negotiation. How did you do on feeding him though? Did you manage to feed him and get the what do they call it, stemlets, or whatever?
Yeah. I think at the feeding time, I can't remember. I think I'd bailed out of once it became known that they weren't going to do anything for the full set. I got rid of those, and I think I might have had 1 red wolf, or maybe I had 3. I don't remember. So it was a red one, which wasn't ideal. I forget the time frame on it, but it wasn't regular. It was all
something kind of weird, offset hours.
Yeah. So I did miss a couple of feedings, but yeah, I wasn't getting up at freaking 1 a.m. to feed the bloody thing. I was kind of averaging it out. So I did all right.
Yeah, I think I had a dozen I was feeding, and I got them kind of staggered out in a good. I was a little lucky and made some good guesses, and got them kind of staggered out into a good time, so I could feed a lot of them at the same time. So I did pretty well. I was pretty excited about that. But I went, for the second round, I went and I only have 2 colors now, so I know that, like, I'm only gonna have 2 feeding schedules. So hopefully that works out for me.
Yes, I'll just show you this too. Yeah, in the aftermath of that, once we found out all the details, then again it was one of those things where, okay, I got rid of my red wolf because I didn't like the time. That didn't work in with my kind of, some people and every 8 hours works out really well or whatever, but that didn't work for me. So I went all in and traded my way up to get 3 3 green pythons. So they're on a 24-hour feeding cycle. So
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, pythons are cool. Yeah. Yeah, those guys look
Yes,
good too.
Yes, I near FOMO'd into a gold one, but that kind of deal fell through at the last minute. I would like to get one more, but the prices are a bit.
Yeah. You didn't do any potions or anything, did you?
No, I wasn't interested in that at
Yeah.
all. I
Yeah,
thought that. Yeah. What was your general vibe on that whole thing coming out?
well, like I said, I had kind of I intentionally collected a couple colors, and I didn't want to like mess up because, so it didn't really attract it to me. But some people went wild and got some pretty good deals out of it. They had some good upgrades. I'm not sure it was worth the cost of what like they were pretty expensive.
Yeah.
So I passed on that, but in general, I like the idea of those that burn mechanics. I'm a fan of that heading that direction. So
yeah, from a business side of things, I thought it was brilliant move. Like, get some other functionality, some more stuff that you can sell. What I didn't like, and what really kind of made me just step away from the whole thing, was the gambling nature to it. If it was a linear thing, like if you're playing Pokemon or whatever, it's not that I freaking play Pokemon, so I'm talking out of my ass. But most other mobile games, you have an end goal, and here are the steps to get to that end goal, and here are the prices. Away you
burn
go.
2 things and you get this. You evolve to this thing versus
burn
2 things and you don't know what you get.
Well, yeah, buy one thing and you got no idea what it is, and then you're going to have to try and trade it and sell it. And the supply also, I couldn't believe how low the supply was on some of the things. So,
in general, I would say I like to gamble, so I don't mind the gambling element. In general, but so I just, like I said, I liked what I had. I was standing pat, so I kind of bowed out. But I know some people that managed to like make some money on potion trading. Buy them low and sell them high, and so there's opportunities there. It's good.
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely plenty to work with there if you wanted to put the time and effort into juggling with it. I know D-Tech, he came out with the gold something or other. But he was saying he put in a horrendous amount of hours.
He went wild that first round. I was watching him. He was doing a lot. But again, that's fun too. If you're trading and you're trying to get something. I've gone through phases in some projects like that where I trade this to get this, and doing 3-way trades with people, and trying to but again, like that's trading is the fun thing about. I do like the trading aspect. I wish there was more trading in the property arena. Like, it's hard to do collection trading, in a permanent way. Because most people aren't interested. But I wish there was more incentive to property trade.
Yeah, and it'd be good to. I think UPX Land is doing bundles now. I don't know if that goes to property bundles. But that was one of the things that we always spoke about for years and years. Is it'd be awesome to be able to put up for sale your entire Mission Street collection set, because it's one of the frustrating things. If you have a collection set that you're willing to let go of, you put them up for sale. But if one of them gets purchased, then you're left with this collection that's just dead. And more often than not, what happens is you end up thinking, well, I might as well just get rid of it now, and you just undercut the floor massively. It'd be. I used to do that way back. Is I'd put Excel sheets together, and I'd show this is the market floor, and here's what I'm willing to do. But the caveat being, you have to buy the whole set. There is ways around it, but having a direct way to do that within the UI, that'd be
that would be cool.
Way better.
Absolutely. I feel like the way the market is now, like. Holding collections is about like from a at least it might be different for you, Ben, but in my portfolio, like the passive earnings is having that multiplier is good value. Like it's hard to give that up for nothing. You know what I mean? Like, and it's not the same. You don't get the same returns on a purple property as you used to. You can usually find those in a lot of ways. So. It's a little different than it used to be, but it used to be, you had like a 20 UPX property or UP squared property in Brooklyn, and you could sell it for 5x, and it was crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it's one of those things, isn't it? Like that, it's all evolved completely now. Like I have been all about getting up my dividend rate since the very earliest days of me playing the game. That's one of the major things I've focused on. But nowadays, you'd be better off if you were to start fresh now and say you wanted to invest 1,000 USD, invest in air quotes or whatever you want to say, but back in the day, I'm going to say it again. Back in the day, you'd look for the red collections. That was a yellows is probably the ultra res is probably out of reach.
Mm-hmm.
You could get some pretty good deals on some reds. City releases, you may even be lucky enough to be able to mint those after collection reveal or something like that. And then, of course, your exclusive, your oranges. But nowadays, you'd be better off with that $1,000 coming in and just gobbling up undermints. The multiplier on just generic nothing properties is way more than collection properties.
It's true.
Yeah.
Especially if like, you know, for those first three, like if you can get big undermint properties for that standard collection, like
Yeah.
that's definitely the way to go if you're coming in right now, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and the whole property trading aspect, that's why I got involved in the game. That's one of the reasons why, aside from the community aspects and doing shows and all, you know, talking to people such as yourself is fun. It's the property trading that keeps me going.
Yeah. Well, that's what I think that's my point. Like, I think that thing that I thought it was going to be property trading has turned into asset trading is frequently where that it's just scratched if you want to take the dive, you know. You know, I'll buy a bunch of potions and see what I can, you know, make with trade with them. So
get some value out.
Yeah.
It's.
I wanted to ask.
Yeah. Oh,
sorry.
go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I interrupted you.
I was just going to say, one of the things we know, Upland sells things for USD and UPX. Why can't we do that? Why can't, if I have a property for sale, why can't I put that up at a USD price and the UPX price? And whichever one gets purchased, that gets gobbled up.
I hadn't thought of that, but that's you're right about that. Why can't I list for both?
Yeah. Although imagine the people that would f that up and
that's why it's just like keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about, you know, as the node father, you know, like, you know, nodes have, you know, you can't make a node like you used to, right? Like the way they sell properties, you can't gather your friends and like storm a neighborhood and expect to get enough of a percentage. So they moved to this. Now you can buy whole neighborhoods, right? Like these. What's your feeling about that? Is that a good thing? Is that a good move, or is that like, part of me is like, oh, that makes sense, and then part of me, like, you know, some of the most fun I had is that community building of like, whether it's like a community competition or you know, like, or just like, you know, like trying to acquire, you know, just that the community organizing can be kind of fun to me, and for me in the game, but it feels like we're kind of like moving away from some of that in you know, as you know, like I help lead the Creedmoor node, and sometimes I'm frustrated because I want more tools.
Yes.
And those tools seem like they're ending up in the hands of the people that buy whole neighborhoods, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. As for the new feature where you can buy entire neighborhoods, I think that's awesome. I lost far more Ethereum in ICO crypto scams than what I could, like, if I hadn't have lost that, I would have easily been able to go over and say, you know what, actually, I'm just going to FOMO in and buy Treasure Island.
Yeah.
You know, it'd be really cool to have. Well, that option is available. Anybody could have bought the entire Treasure Island. It's interesting. I was thinking about this yesterday, actually. Obviously, that deal with BitGet, that's something that had been worked on for a very long time. Now, did they put that neighborhood bundle up for Treasure Hood Island, knowing that it was already going to go to BitGet, or because remember at Genesis Week, somebody had. It looked like somebody had purchased that big one, the Treasure Island property, but they were just playing around. They didn't confirm the action, blah, blah, blah. So Upland must have had contingencies in place.
Like
with
if
BitGet.
someone had bought Treasure Island, would they have just gone to one of the other neighborhoods instead? Or
Yeah.
Treasure Island's kind of
Well,
special, like, right?
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe
So-
maybe they were like, like maybe they had it. They were like, it's too crazy for someone to actually buy that. It's like,
Tempting fate.
yeah. I don't know.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
They must have had a contingency, or they had another neighborhood in their back pocket they could open up if they had to, or I don't know. Because there's a bunch of island properties all over the place that they've singled out. So they clearly had that plan for a while. To drop some islands on people.
Yeah. So that actual feature, I think that's great. I would have loved to have been able to take advantage of that back in the day.
What you spent on Midtown Terrace, you probably could have bought one of those neighborhoods, right?
Oh, 10 times over.
Right. Like, would you have done that instead, or was there joy in the collecting of it? It's a bigger flex for you to have done what you did with Midtown Terrace than just buy it yourself, right? All in one go.
Oh, that's a good question. That's a good scenario. Well, at the start of Midtown Terrace, I was very much a lone wolf player, is the classic analogy. The minting of Midtown Terrace started because I needed a location for the business idea I already had for Samurai Aquatics. I'd already, had the application in for that. So that's what got me the Aqua Vista Way.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only reason I landed in Midtown Terrace, is because it has a street, Aqua Vista Way, Samurai Aquatics. It kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
In hindsight, it was a terrible position because there's only one large property there. All of the other properties are small, so you can't put factories and showrooms and all the rest of it. But we didn't know that back then, of course. So, it started off as a small project, and then I'm going to keep saying that. It's going to be annoying as hell. When it started, we didn't know the mechanics, but we were told that for outdoor decor map assets now, they had to physically be placed on a property. So you're going to manufacture these things, and you essentially needed storage area.
Mm-hmm.
So I started off in one tiny pocket of Midtown Terrace, just around that showroom location, 30 Aqua Vista Way. And then I kind of slowly started building out the storage area for that. And, I minted one block, and then FOMO kicks in. You see a couple of people starting to mint spot properties here and there, and it kind of took over from there. And then it kind of snowballed. Okay, now I kind of started a campaign, let's mint out Midtown Terrace, because that was very much the thing back in the day, like singular neighborhoods.
Because there's nothing else to do, right? Like, that's what you like. Yeah. That's the project, right?
Yeah, you make your own fun. So then, yada yada, you mint it all out, and then the rest is not history because it's still ongoing. But yeah, I think the actual mint price, or what I paid with the secondary market prices for Midtown Terrace, maybe in the order of 25 million UPX, something like that. But the construction costs, you're talking 35 million.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
So 60 million UPX or something like that.
Yeah.
You could have easily bought all of those for initial.
Yeah.
Obviously UPX is different, and you're earning it as you play, and yada yada yada. But if I look at the actual physical numbers of the because again, all of the overwhelming majority of my Upland account is built from the ICO crypto trading in 2017, 2018.
Okay.
So
again, it's funny money. You're playing with house money, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So, but if which you should never do, is go back and have a look at the amount of coins and some of the names on these coins that I sold to transfer over to UPX. And now you look at their prices now, I could have paid my house off.
Right. That's bad. That's a rough game to play.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's no coming out of that, feeling good about yourself. So, but as far as selling the entire neighborhoods for Ethereum, I love it. I wish there was always 20 options available from, one Ethereum, or, there's plenty of small neighborhoods out there. They could do small ones,
Yeah. Well, there might be. I mean, that might be where they're headed. But
Yeah.
yeah, I just think it's an interesting move because it does tend to take the, like I said, I wish I had more tools, like whether it's like neighborhood exclusive content.
Yep.
They've sort of talked about like that was going to be an option for the things you buy, the neighborhoods you can buy in their entirety. And I'm like, hey man,
Governance.
what about the thing I've been working on over here? Why can't I have, like exclusive
Yeah.
content, like
Yeah.
so that
But
I'm mixed about that, but it is cool that like you can get your you can get your friend 5 friends together and go in on a neighborhood, and then like you can just like don't have to
Yeah.
worry about the scrub who bought the 3 properties that you just can't get back from.
Yeah, and holding you to ransom. Yeah,
Yeah.
which it's happened to me countless times. So yeah, I like that. But to go back to the point you raised as well, like the community aspect. Yeah, you're right. Technically, you could get together, and I've got 1 Ethereum, you've got half Ethereum, or we could put it all together and maybe make this play. But yeah, I kind of also miss the days. The absolute most fun that I've had playing Upland is it was probably the Oakland release. Upland Development United at that stage was already established with several other projects. We went into Oakland. This is back when, prior to the green light going on, and okay, let's mint, we had the neighborhood lines up. We knew what the property prices were in advance. We'd been talking about them for at least 24 hours, 36 hours. We'd made a plan. We had contingency plans.
You didn't want anyone to know about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or we were also putting out false flags because we knew that was people watching.
Yeah, that sounds cool. Like that. Like
Yeah.
that element. I do miss. Whether it's like I wasn't around. I wasn't a conscious. I was there, but I wasn't a conscious player yet. I don't think.
Yep.
But like the ornament competition, the decorating competition in Creedmoor, that one a couple Halloweens ago, like that was super fun. Like you're gathering people, you're organizing people. Hey, can you bring your ornament over here? You want to join up here? Or before that, there was when Spark first got introduced, and there was a luxury house building competition. That's when I was like a baby player, and that was really cool because like all of a sudden I'm like involved with more experienced players because they want me to stake Spark, and I learned a lot. Just like the more experienced players that like all of a sudden you had interactions with, whereas like you wouldn't necessarily have that opportunity. So I missed that part. I feel like there's something missing that I wish I wish we could recreate a little bit. And yeah, I don't mean to be all back in the day nostalgic, but
no, it's good because there's a lot of people that are coming on board now who don't know the history of it. So it's always good to dive into those sort of things. Yeah, because it's also that release in Oakland. We were on a Zoom with a whole bunch of folks. Uplando had his target. He wanted to mint the school neighborhood in Oakland, and then the other big play we were doing is DJ Shorts at the time. He wanted to establish his own node project, and he was humming and hawing about 2 or 3 different ones, and it was coming down to we've got 20 seconds to go. Hurry up, DJ! You got to make a decision. You got to make a decision. Hurry up! And it came down to like the last second, and he made the decision and go. And we all just descended on this thing, and it was super fun.
Yeah. No, that's cool. That's I can see where that'd be super fun.
Yeah, and it kind of also goes to the point you've made there as well as I think now it's not now, it's probably been for the last couple of years since they moved away from that system, which I've never really understood why, where give us the neighborhood lines, give us the bloody property data pricing ahead of time, because we used to do, myself as an established player, some of the relationships I have now, and some of the really good relationships I have now with Upland players started from FSA agent conversations. I knew that, okay, this is going to be a collection. That's an FSA property. I can't get it. So I was front loading. You got to put a bit of trust in people. Here's 50,000 UPX. This is the shopping list I want you to get for me. and works out well for me, worked out well for them.
Yeah.
All of that's pretty much gone.
Collection swapping was the same thing. Granted, they're abusing it, but like again, when I was a baby Uplander, like I got more value out of being able to talk to an older player, like while we're waiting for trades to go on. I was like, hey, what do you think about this? What do you know about this? What, like how, like, and that was valuable where you can't, like if you post a question in general, you don't know what you're going to get. You know what I mean? Like, like it's, but just having that, we're both locked into this relationship for a few minutes, and like, people love to talk about themselves. I like to talk about myself, and you just like asking some questions. And again, that's something like I don't know how that's recreated now. I don't know. Like if you started as a player now, we always talk about how like where would you start? I don't know. Like
yeah. Well, it's kind of 6 of one, half of the dozen of the other though, because now there's so many people putting out good entry level content. YK 2012 is a classic example of somebody who puts out stuff to help new players. There's an endless amount of people in the Upland General Discord that will help out new players, but you have to know where that is. You have to be able to get in there. If you're just cold downloading this app, you're like, jeez.
Yeah,
but obviously they've got pathways.
What's this Discord thing I need in order to actually play this game? I love the idea of in-game chat, but it doesn't work quite right. Like it's not quite there yet.
And it may get there. Who knows? I've been kind of playing around with that as much as I can, but it's still really buggy.
I try to use it for like DM purposes. Like I'll message people in game, and that works kind of cool. But it's just like a general channel. Like it's just like the way they've set the missions. It's just like a bunch of people saying okay or hi or like whatever, and you can't track a conversation at all.
There's a couple of points that really suck about it. Like because my neighborhood residence is Midtown Terrace, so I've got the Midtown Terrace channel. I'm in there, but you can't post images. So all of this promotional stuff I've been doing with Midtown Terrace, I can't put any of it in there. It's freaking stupid.
Yeah, you can post some images in the like the BST's channel.
Your feed,
yeah. But that's annoying.
And I've had several newbie-ish players reach out to me and ask questions and whatnot. I've written a big, long, massive reply. And I try to get into the habit of copy it before I press send. But I forget. I press send, and the bloody sensor kicks in, and it disappears. And you're like,
and then you gotta,
I'm not going to type out that whole thing again. So sorry, mate. I'll get back to you when I can. At some point, you just got to let adults be adults. So, So that's a frustrating point, but All right, mate. Well, I think we've kind of danced around a whole bunch of stuff. We've kind of dabbled into a little bit about, where you started. The Brooklyn band. Yeah, that was the Brooklyn Burn. The Nasty Hooks put out 2 songs, classic songs about that. I'll try to link those in the description if I remember. It's the age-old question. How did you first find Upland and get involved, and what kind of piqued your interest?
I don't know if this is a terribly unique story, but I was middle of pandemic, and we're stuck at home, and I have kids, and you spend all day trying to make sure they're doing some sort of school, and you're doing your own work, and then so it's late at night, and I'm goofing around. I'd actually got involved with another, and again, I'm a crypto dum-dum. I don't know anything about crypto, and I barely know, I know barely what blockchain is. But I'm a Doctor Who fan, and I got involved with, there was a Doctor Who blockchain project, and I kind of messed around with it a little bit, and it was a little janky, like a lot of these projects are. And I was like, oh, what else is there? So I was just doing searches, and stumbled on blockchain Monopoly, like anyone else. I was like, I like Monopoly. That sounds great. And it was definitely that first experience about like, getting that first property. I paid the $5 to not have to get the visitor fees or whatever. And I just remember like selling that first property, and you're like, wait, that's kind of cool. And then selling another one, and and so I got hooked on that a little bit, and you know, spent a lot of early days flipping Brooklyn. Like I was in Brooklyn, so I kind of understood the city and the neighborhoods, and like, you know, each neighborhood had kind of its own price point, and I could kind of like figure out like, oh, that's, you know, I could sell that for 1,000 UPX more, or like, you know, 10% more. And so I you know, it was a slow build that way. And yeah, and then I discovered Discord. I didn't know about Discord. I discovered Discord, and you know, you know, I'd always played video games, but I didn't have that experience of you know, gaming in a community sense. So that was all new, and you know, like just learning the language of talking to people on Discord. So yeah, and that's kind of what started it. And then I had the opportunity, you know, started to get involved with some other people's projects, you know, node projects, or, you know, things. And I had the opportunity, you know, first G Week came up, and I live in Los Angeles, which isn't that far from Las Vegas. And I was like, I think I want to go to this, you know. And I remember telling my family, you know, like, I think I want to go to this. And my kids instantly were like, you're going to hang out with internet friends? Like you know, again, like internet safety is all we teach our kids.
Which you've told us for years not to do. Yeah.
And now I'm gonna go hang out with these people I've never met on the internet in Las Vegas. And
pay to do so.
Yeah. And I remember going, and I was like, you know, I'm typically an introverted person. I remember thinking like, I'll go, maybe I'll be there for 15 minutes, and maybe it's lame, and I'll just go play at the craps table or whatever. And I showed up, and one of the first people I met was Shacklin, who was nice. You know, like you know, she's also a little like, you know, sometimes came off as a little socially introverted. And I remember sitting at her table, and you know, we're discussing things, and you know, she's a good entree into other people. She knows a bunch of people, and yeah, it was super exciting. You know, like all of a sudden I was like, this is like a cool subculture that like I can get behind. And so yeah, I you know, that kind of like really hooked me. And yeah, and then you know, from there on, I you know, I found other projects and other communities. And you know, the thing I love about Upland is like, you know, more than an investment, you know, like I know a lot of people are like into investment, and you know, I'm here to make money, and you know, like I'm not quite in that realm. I'm more, I like the world building of it, you know, like I like,
yes,
you know, like what's going to happen next? What's this corner? What's this community? What's this Discord server? What are they doing here?
Yep.
You know, like I really like that part. It excites me, and it keeps me engaged with technology, like, you know, AI, learning about AI. You know,
yes,
one of the first people I met at that first G Week was Joe Lives. Who also
great bloke.
And so yeah, we hang out some. You know, there's like this. He is a friend who does this AI seminar once a week, and you know, go hang out there, and like that's like you know, like it's like takes, you know, most of us live in bubbles and in our lives, and you know, a lot of people with the same socioeconomic class, same type of jobs, same, you know, like, and Upland's a place where like, you know, we wouldn't meet in the real world, you know, like what's the likelihood, you know, and there's something we can talk about, even though like, you know, like we may not have much else in common, but like we you know, we can get along and work on this together. It's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I spoke about it with BK last week, and I've spoke about it with plenty of others. Like pretty much everybody that I know that I've spoken to over the years in Upland, it's very unusual to hear a story where somebody like us who's in it, we get it, we love it, and then we talk to our friends about it, and then they get it, they love it. It's more often or not a case of they look at you like, what the hell are you doing?
No, yeah. Absolutely. When I first started, it was like the ironic thing I would talk about at a dinner party. You know, be like, oh, listen to this crazy thing I do. I buy digital properties. You know, like, and everyone's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I bought this property in New Orleans, and I sold it for, you know, 6 times what I paid for it. And nobody's like, how do I do that? You know, like they're all like, what a crazy, what's this crazy thing you're up to?
Yep.
And slowly I'm worried that I've turned into that person at the party that's like, look at this thing I do and why it's going to change the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
digital
Yeah, yeah.
economies is the next way of the world, and so I'm worried I'm turning into like the crazy acolyte. But
Yeah.
yeah, I got
But
off on a tangent there.
what is it? What is it that hooks you? What is it that hooks me? I was getting one of the tattoo sessions I was getting done. I happened to wearing my Upland Down Under shirt, and it says whatever it says, Web3 Metaverse or something on it. And when we were taking a break, we were outside having lunch. He said, "Oh, I saw before you had a Metaverse thing on your shirt. What's all that about?" And like you just said there, I explained to him, well, actually, today's session, the whole day session, has been paid for by these. I create these things within the metaverse, and I
Oh my gosh!
buy and sell properties. But his reaction was, "Oh yeah, that's cool." He didn't ask any follow up questions. What is it? How do I get involved? It's just
Yeah.
There's some people, like we're an example. We get it. Most people don't. What's the thing? What is it?
I'm not sure. I've heard you ask that question, and I
Yeah.
think about that a lot. Like 10 years ago, I would never imagine I'm talking to an Australian on a podcast. B, this is what and this is the hobby that I've kind of carved out for
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
And there's something about like the real world map of it all
Yeah.
and like the ability to get an emotional connection with blue pixels.
Yep.
I think has a lot to do with it, where you can kind of like create. You can everyone maps their own worldview on this thing. If you want an investment platform, it becomes an investment platform, and then you get upset
Yep.
when it doesn't quite work out exactly like
Yep.
you want, or I think or you're looking for a community to join. It's the community. You can find the community that really speaks to you, and like to me, it's so telling that people that like rage quit or get rage banned or whatever, and they can't let it go. If that happened, it seems like if that happened to me, I'd be like, F you, I'm going to go find something else to do. But the people that hang around on Twitter, bad mouthing, like this is what you're spending your time with, but you're so hooked in that like that's an amazing phenomenon, isn't it? Like I just can't imagine that.
Yeah, I guess it's a spectrum there. One point you raised there about the map to the real life kind of situation. I think there's something to that. If this was just a pure fantasy based realm,
I think it'd be
I
easy,
don't think.
right?
Yeah. So there's definitely some aspect of that.
Like I said, I bought my house, and that's like meaningful to me. Or like, there's definitely properties that I own that like there's something about that situation or where I was when I bought it, or what made me buy it, or what's happening there in the real world that's like gives you that emotional connection. I mean, I know other people are just like flippers and like have like it's not, but even that I think is like there's so many different aspects that you can kind of create your own game. Like there's no one game. Like it's not. It's there's no winners. Like you create your own game and you win your game. Like you want to build out a neighborhood and go do that and you want to make digital assets, like that's cool. Like that's the other thing. I tell people that at parties, and I'm like, I made this digital thing and someone paid me real money for it and was happy to do so. I didn't force them to.
Banging on my door to get one. Yeah.
And I'm like, that's cool. Like again, like there's something about this that I gave somebody an emotional connection, and they felt like they wanted to spend their money on it, and that's that's cool.
Yeah. The one other aspect you brought up there was like the rage quitters. I've had a lot to do with some of these people, like extremely close relationships in some cases. It's not as cut and dry as that. We always say, like, if this goes away tomorrow, it is what it is. If Upland was to fail as a project, I think people would be a lot more accepting of that than the door being slammed on your face, and you have all these assets tied up that you can't
I was
get out.
being glib. I know, like I know there's
Yeah.
more within that, but
Yeah.
you know, but there is something about like, yes, I get that there's, you know, people maybe invested too much and maybe they feel like they were cheated, and like I get that. But I don't mean to sound glib, but there is an element that like what causes people to spend hours of the day in general just chatting away, you know, like what, you know, like that's what causes, you know, what causes us to like talk about this for, you know, 90 minutes or whatever. Like, you know, that's a there's a phenomenon there, and I'm not quite sure what Upland did specifically to create that, but I've yet to find something like that in somewhere else, you know, like
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what was your take on, like, we did see, like, there was that whole shenanigans where people got airdropped way too much Sparklet, and then Upland reached into the accounts and took all of that away, demolished the properties. I was a bit taken aback by the level of power. I mean, Swally did give me a reality check about centralized versus decentralized, but yeah, I was like, wow, they really can control.
I heard you guys talking about that, and I'm a little more in Swarley's camp, where like I've never been a big, you know, I know a lot of people talk about true ownership, like it's like, you know, like some sort of, you know, end all be all, you know, aspirational thing, and I've just never felt like that, you know, like I feel like there's too many cases where, you know, shenanigans can happen that you want to be able to like roll the clock back, you know, like so I totally I think it'd be going back to like where they draw the line is sometimes weird to me, you know, like you know, like sniping is a big, like a lot of people talk about sniping, right? Like that's a weird one to me because from my standpoint, it's not good, you know, like the people it affects most are like the new players who don't understand, I think. And it also just looks bad. Like as a new player, you show up and you're like, wait, this is going on? Like this feels like this is a little too Wild West for me, you know, like maybe this isn't for me. And it feels like they could stop it at any time. But clearly there's something about it that like they're allowing people can make a living doing that, you know, like and they Upland feels comfortable that's happening. I'm constantly trying to figure out like what is Upland gaining by that?
Yeah,
because it feels like they could shut it down in any second. Like it feels like they could, you know, they could twist, you know, like put a delay, put a thing, you know, like there's people have a million ideas how to stop it, but that's like one area where like this is where you draw the line. Like I mean, that's a tangent too, but I was less surprised about that, and it makes sense to me. Like it's game ruining if you don't have that power, you know, like it was like that. Like there was that big spark drop at one point where a bunch of people got a bunch of like, you know, all of a sudden you're like, you know, like half of your spark supply just left out. You can't let that happen. Like, you can't ruin your game. So I wasn't shocked by that, but and you feel like they should or shouldn't have that power?
Well, I guess I'm coming from a crypto background,
right,
where you're entirely in that your assets.
You want to own the wallet and,
the keys
and no one else.
Yeah. So but I totally get that if we want mainstream adoption, there has to be mechanisms in place. But again, there's been plenty of new players that have come in, they've made an error, they've had their property sniped, and they've gone, you know what, this ain't for me, and they've walked away. That's a shame. Is the percentages, like the percentage of people affected by that, is it worth Upland showing their hand to say, well, actually, you know what, we can dig into these snipers accounts and pull it out, but then you got to have some kind of review process, and that's all time and money, you know. You can't.
I think that's said that. What's going to ruin our game, and what can we let you know, like what's low impact, you know, like I imagine there's some sort of bar like that, but
the choice of two evils.
The
lesser of two evils, or whatever you say.
You can have like the amount of spark that people were getting yesterday, was it yesterday, the day before, it was insane. I remember looking at it, I was like, wait, if you bought spark, you're getting 20x? Like that's crazy. Like
Yeah,
and then you're doing the math where you're like,
okay.
wait, what do they think the price is going to go to? Like, is this true? Is this, yeah, but it's good they figured it out.
Yes, it's all yet to reveal itself. So, all right, well, that's how you got involved, and so you have been around since March 2021, which is quite a long time. So you have been through this history, especially, you know, the aspects of the game is one thing. The community, the evolution within the community is another thing. You mentioned that you've been to the first Genesis Week. You've got this year's Genesis Week shirt on, so I suppose you've been to all three. Have
I have been to all three. Again,
nice.
like it's not a huge ask for me because it's a short plane flight or a short drive, so it's easy for me. So I don't pretend it's a huge accomplishment, but it's cool being able to do that. And, I hope someday you get the opportunity to at least do some sort of meetup or something, because it is super fun, like hanging out with a group of people that are all involved.
Yeah, it's Swally was kind of talking about, should we pool together some funds or, dollar cost average in some crypto over the year to get it. But we get the announcement really late. So
And it's
when we got the announcement,
it's
when we got the announcement this year, I immediately looked at flights, and the cheapest flight was something ridiculous, 10 grand and 50 hours travel time each way. Because if you want the cheapest one, you got to have layovers and stopovers. I was like, it's just beyond ridiculous.
Yeah, it's insane. But having an Australian meetup, that'd be cool too, right? Right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I kind of got over that whole FOMO aspect of it. It is what it is, a part of that wider process. But so you've been around for a while. You got yourself well established as a lone player. You've got involved in different projects. One of the most, because you're one of the community leaders at Creedmoor Hub now, I believe. So maybe you can speak to that whole journey as well.
Well, like I said, I met Shacklin at that first Genesis week, and we talked, and there was another node that we were kind of involved in, and I wasn't there from the beginning, but at one point I kind of I really liked the idea of a neighborhood that was like a lot of neighborhoods are like we want to build build a nice well designed neighborhood, and buildings are all going to be the right color, and I was just attracted to the we're going to build things crazy, and we're going to and I like the haunted theme, and I thought there was a lot of potential to that, and so I started messaging Shacklin, and I think it was around the time of that first ornament contest, and I got involved with that and helping kind of organize that, and then at one point they invited me to come, be part of the leadership team, and so again, there's a lot of things I'd like to do, which if I had a few more tools, but it's a good group of people, and it's not the only node I'm involved in. Like I find that nodes tend to have these they get their own personality, and they focus on the same thing, focus on different things, and so there's a handful that I try to be active in, and I just think I think different communities are cool, and it's cool meeting different people and into different things. So,
how have you felt with I was going to say the evolution of the neighborhood ratings, but it's not evolution. It's the what do you say? It's the ignoring of the neighborhood ratings project. It seemed to be slapped together, and
that part is crazy to me, because initially, and at one point I was involved with Rodrigo, and we were in this group, and we were trying to crack the like totems, we were trying to crack the code, because I feel like there's a code to crack there. I think gathering information and trying to figure out how it works, but not supported, not no reminders, or no there's no emphasis on it, and it was a little disheartening. Some of those early neighborhoods that won are almost not neighborhoods anymore. They were so focused on that one thing, and when they did or didn't get it, they didn't have the staying power. So that was that was kind of upsetting to me. So yeah, it feels like a missed opportunity. Like it feels,
Yeah.
it just feels like a missed opportunity, and it felt very, the way that the algorithm was working. It felt very exclusionary of certain types of neighborhoods, which was also upsetting. And I think maybe they didn't quite figure out their algorithm right, so they like, instead of fixing it, they moved on to other things. I don't know.
Yes. All right. So you've got involved in that, of course, but then one of the major things you're involved in now, of course, is your Metaventure series. Now, this is fascinating to me. I mentioned before that Midtown Terrace got established because I needed a location for Samurai Aquatics. I picked Aqua Vista Way. You've taken that to the extreme. Now, my question,
not dissimilar to my experience. Like,
yeah.
yeah.
So you've got the Metaventure series in the neighborhood. Which came first, the Metaventure name or the neighborhood?
I discovered the neighborhood. I remember watching you and More Cheese and D-Tech, and like talk about your experiences, building map assets. And I was like, I don't know, that feels like a lot of work. And but I watched some, like, you're very transparent, and I watched some of your videos of you, like, trying to organize this and figure it out. And I have zero technical skill. I don't know Blender. I don't, I didn't really have that on my radar. But I was looking for a project. Like I was feeling like I needed a project, and I was scrolling around the map app, the map, and I discovered this neighborhood in Detroit, and there were two properties. It was a neighborhood, and they had exactly two large properties right next to each other. And I was like, this is a perfect place for a factory showroom right next to each other. Thinking again, transportation was going to be a thing. It'd be easy to transport between those two. And I was like, and all of a sudden I had this idea, and I was like, I was like, oh, I can imagine, again, going back to emotional connections, I think narratives are important. And I imagine this like kind of like world of like, a giant eyeball appears in the sky over this neighborhood, and what happens, and the fever dream type stuff, right? And around the same time, I met a very talented artist who knew Blender, and I was just like, hey, would you? It wasn't an Uplander, like I was like, would you be interested in helping me do this thing? And that's how it started. And there was a little bit of like brainstorming, and my initial concept was, Upland to that point had released Ornaments, like kind of a theme across buildings, and I was like, I tend to be kind of contrarian sometimes, and I was like, I want to do one building, but for all the seasons. And at the time, it was a different format for seasons. There was 9 seasons, and you could only decorate during your season. So I was like, oh, like you could have one ranch house, and you could decorate it, in this theme for all the seasons. And as they, you submit something, and then they change the rules on you. So like, I think I had some luck in that, like, this artist really helped me navigate the technical aspects. And I think maybe Upland kind of like understood what I was going for. And I think I got very lucky in that they A, approved, and B, Ornaments got a little bit of utility in the game. So that certainly helped, that like, suddenly there was a reason to buy Ornaments and a reason to decorate for, like, these earnings or, bonus points in the season or whatever. So the stars kind of aligned, and I was really happy with the output. And it's been really cool because I've really met, some people got excited about it, and I've really met new communities and new community members who seem to be into it. And it's been really exciting.
Yes. Talk about change the rules up. When I submitted my business approval for my business application for Samurai Aquatics, which was accepted. It was all about in-ground pools and garden ponds and differentiating different rarity levels. While this one's got koi fish in it and this one has gold koi fish in it and blah, blah. And then, okay, your business is approved, but you can't do pools and you can't do any living things.
Right.
A year after the fact.
So I definitely had, like we had to do some redesigning and some resubmitting, and it was definitely not. I wouldn't say that an easy process.
Yeah.
And again, I think I got lucky. I got there's definitely people that submitted things that didn't get approved and unclear why. And so but again, in the game of Upland, it's a little bit right place, right time.
Yes.
Get a little lucky. And that happened to be my one of my sweet spots was I right place, right time, I guess. I don't know.
With the artists that you're working with, I'm having done that myself as well. But I was working with D-Tech, who is an Uplander. He understands all the mechanics. He reads the announcements and that sort of stuff. You said that your artist was not. Are they on board now, or are they still distant?
No, they're not.
Yeah.
I mean, in some ways, I think it was an advantage because it was you didn't get bogged down in Upland style, kind of.
And they can't get poached.
Yeah. Well, there's that. But no, it was I'd show him examples, again, he was really good at navigating the whatever technical aspects that they give us. And I'd show him examples, and then AI was a big help because you could kind of use AI to brainstorm. Where I'd be like, I kind of have this idea, and it looks something like this, and he could kind of interpret that. So it turned out a really good partnership, and I'm over the moon by how they turned out. Better than I could have possibly imagined.
It's one of the best series out there by far, which I'm sure we'll have a look into it.
Thank you for saying. Yeah.
Oh,
it's funny because I always had this vision. You're very good at you want a factory in every city, and I always had this vision of again, I'm kind of weird and contrarian sometimes, but I was like, I want to have the junk shop in the back in the far alley of the weird you stumble into and you're like, what is this thing? That was my initial kind of, again, it was Creedmoor inspired, kind of weird, kind of creepy, kind of niche. And and it just, and sometimes I feel like, having a Detroit showroom is definitely, I feel like I lose out on sales. There's people that won't travel, right? But,
but there's something to that. Well, we've always talked about, even in some of those early meetings that we published with Samurai Aquatics, we're always talking about, look, we know that the markets are just going to get flooded with absolutely everything from every man, woman, and their dogs and their cats or whatever. There's going to be stuff everywhere. You have to differentiate yourself somehow, and you've done that in multiple ways. First of all, your style is very distinct. You've got a specific theme you're sticking to. You're sticking with, at least for the present time, the one building type. And I love that you're like, you know what? If you want one of these, well, you're going to have to get on the plane. You're going to have to get in the car because this is where I am. This is where they are. Take it or leave it.
That was the goal. And then every once in a while I waver and I'm like, oh man, should I be selling these in Rio? Should I be selling them in London?
Yeah.
But no, I do. My biggest dream is if some by chance Upland's still around 10 years from now, 20 years from now, and someone wanders into the junk shop that day, and you're like, you uncover the crate, and you're like, what is this thing?
Blow the dust off.
It's original, blah blah. I think that would be really cool, and that's my ultimate dream is just have that, just imagining that experience of uncovering that dusty crate in the metaverse and discovering something like that. But,
it's very Indiana Jones sort of vibes. Stuff. Feel free to share as much or as little as you want on this next point. like I pretty much work exclusively with DTech now as far as map assets and whatnot and design. So all of that has been funded within the app through revenue share. So you've got somebody who's external to Upland. Obviously, you're not going to be paying them in UpX or Spark rental prices. How have you balanced that? Is this a one-time fee thing, or are you paying for the designs themselves, or how have you managed that external side?
We made a deal, and again, I think it takes some trust on my part, but I made a there's a design fee, and then I said I would pay you a certain percentage or so much per unit distributed.
Nice.
And so like once a month I go, I keep track of like, and again, that's designed because like some of them I give away, whether it's as a prize somewhere or as promotional item, or like every release I do a pre-sale in Creedmoor, so there's some discounts there. And so I didn't think it was fair to do it at just a straight percentage, because
people get taken advantage of that with NFTs. Like that, they'll sell their NFT design for $5,000, and somebody will make 10 million or something.
Yeah. So I there's a percentage per unit distributed. So I know how many I send out, and I pay that once a month, and so far I think it's worked out fairly.
Yeah.
But that's the way I handled it. But it's not as easy as just like I'll send you some UpX, or I'll send you buy a property for USD. It's a little more complicated than that.
So basically, what you've set up is a private revenue share, which is good. So you're paying some amount for the initial design, and then you're paying out the tail end. So that's good. The more successful you are, the more successful the artist is going to be, which is what you want. Yeah.
And I'm like I'm not getting rich off this. Like I'm not making it's maybe a little more than a vanity project, but again, it's like it's a really cool aspect of Upland, that again, the digital economy, that like this eyeball ornament, somebody made somebody respond and want to own it, and and just getting involved, having a calling card that you can get involved with the community is a cool thing too.
Absolutely. Follow-up question: why, when you're talking about supply, why a supply of 333 and not 666?
That's a good question. These were all, and again, everything's a crapshoot, because we didn't really know how this was going to work at all. But like, it was initially designed for that nine season format. Setup.
Yep.
So I initially had there was a couple like kind of like it was the idea of like there's going to be a couple commons, a few some rare one, or not rares, but like uncommons, and then there was a couple rare ones. So like,
so you have mixed it up. I just looked at
they're not all 333. There's some 555s out there.
Okay, cool.
And then one of the robot one, which turned out to be a very popular one, was only 100. I only asked for 100 mits, because I initially thought I was going to sell like full sets, and that would be like a freebie.
Yeah.
And so again, it doesn't quite work out, and you roll with punches. But mint numbers are funny, because and I'm not sure if you would do things differently if you could now, or
definitely, yeah.
Like I feel like there's a lot of heavily mint, 1,000 mints, 10,000 mints, and I would rather, I basically said I have this design. If I sell them all, I'll make this much, and I'd rather sell out, and then let it become, if somebody likes it and it becomes rare, or it sits in the antique shop, but like I want to sell out and move on. So in some ways, I would almost do, if I do it again, I would do maybe less mints, and
we always talked about back in the day, like doing series 2 with slight modifications or things like that. It's interesting, but you don't know what you don't know. I mean, our mint numbers got screwed up too. Like, I think we have a 10-piece set. We wanted 20,000 units for that, but then there's 3 or 4 of them that are 30,000. Well,
Yeah.
there's no way to fix that
Oh,
now.
so you just hit the wrong button. Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
No, I don't know. I don't know if it was a miscommunication between me filling out the form. I don't think so, or on Upland's end, but there was errors in there somewhere.
I think
It's
there was
like
also,
supposed to be a set.
I mean, there's also the feeling that like any second this thing could explode, and then like 300 is not that many, or like
Yep.
I mean, I was just kind of basing it on what Upland was doing at the time. Like that's the kind of where they were, and I thought, oh, that seems like a good number. Like around 300, around 500, around 150. Like those feel like something that could potentially sound. The trouble is that like it's so hard to market in. Like I'm not a big shiller. Like I don't like to over shill and spend every second posting or whatever. But it's really hard to get out. If you're not Upland, where you can like put something in the store, it's really hard. Like I'm always shocked by like I think I try to do a good job of like communicating, and I'm always shocked. Like I had no idea you were selling these. Like I would much rather buy these than the Upland thing. And it's just hard to get people to know without going into general and just like breaking rules and just saying, hey guys, look what I did.
Yeah. Well, you've kind of set it up as that underground vibe, and that kind of adds to the mystery of that almost. So, yeah,
that's my hope. But again, sometimes like again, sometimes I waver. Like I'm like, oh, should I be like, I don't know what I would do.
Second guess yourself. Yeah,
it works out. It's worked out fine. I think I've done okay. And
yeah,
it does kind of come off as kind of like you got to be in the know, and I have regular customers that I try to save the mint numbers that they want, and new releases, and so it's been fun that way.
Yes, well, I'll put a pin on that. We'll get back to that. Yeah, it is a little bit different nowadays with the submission approval process, like because there's plenty of people previously where they submitted an item with really low mint numbers. So if there was like 20 items or 30 in that series, and that sells out fast, and they've submitted extras, but previously it was taking 3-4 months to get approved.
Yeah.
Now that's not the case. It's much more improved, so it's no longer an issue.
And there's a lot of people doing cool stuff. Like there's a lot of cool stuff out there. I mean, there's like some less cool stuff too, but like like I'm always excited. Like it's to the point. Like I'm always excited when I like stumble into something. They're like, oh, I didn't even know this existed, and I did attention, and you're like, oh, you're doing something cool over here.
Yeah, I've mentioned this a few times. I've pointed people in the direction of Shacklein's X account, her Twitter account. Like, go and follow her because she's always just showcasing that. There's been plenty of occasions where I've seen something that she's purchased, and I had no idea that was available. That looks really cool. Let me go and pick that up. Yeah.
The Twitter, Upland Twitter is only so big though. Like there's a lot of
yeah.
you can only do so much. Now, you mentioned people being interested in certain min numbers. I'm definitely in that category, of course. And yes, I exclusively use yours for the season kind of competition we have to do. This is in South Lake Tahoe. So I've got all my crates there to put up. Yeah, this season's one. That's really epic. I like this one a lot. Maybe... So... how do we do this? Maybe you might be better off to showcase what you want to do on your end. I'd like to see a few different examples for people that haven't seen, explain maybe your process, even just for going through to get even one of these submitted. It's quite in depth.
How do I present? I got to push present here. Let's see.
Yes.
Share screen. Okay.
Yeah. Hopefully it hasn't. I know when I've shared screen on Upland a few times there, it started to get a bit laggy for the listeners and viewers. So let me pull that up for you. There you go.
Does that work? Are you seeing that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is like in the original concept, again, it was 9. There were 9 seasons. So I was trying to tell, again, I had like kind of a narrative in mind, a very loose narrative. And this was supposed to be the first one. This is like the I classic.
Yep.
And a little bit of an exclusive. I tried a lot of these designs. I tried to put little Easter eggs and little details that if you zoom in and you can find. So the pumpkin has candy in it, and there's like a little llama toy that's hiding over here.
That's cool.
So I try. A lot of these designs have little Easter eggs that if you zoom in and you can find stuff. You know, I'm over here with the umbrella. Just a little signature.
I didn't know. Well, there you go. I had no clue that was there.
So that was iClassic, and then like I don't think I have the current one up. I have iCandy up. So this was like the Christmas one. This was the first one that got released, and Upland did me the favor of releasing this. This again was released in the old system and Christmas, and they released it a week before Christmas was to end. So I had like I could only manufacture so many, you know, in my factory with, you know, the Spark, and so like it really just ended up to be like a Christmas present. I could send to, you know, friends in Upland, because I could only make about 15 in enough time for it to like the season. And then shortly after that, they changed the setup. I don't think I brought up. Let me just spend a second here and pull one more up.
Yeah, you're right.
So I Robot. This one. This is essentially sold out. This was like the lower.
You've got to click over a few different tab. We're still looking at the iClassic.
Oh, sorry. Let's see. Do you see it now? Nope, not yet.
Nope. You might have to X out of there or something. Yeah, you might have to jump out and jump back in. Yeah, and I will say too, I have, every time I go over to UmbrellaBoy's showroom and pick up my Mint 68, I'm picking up an extra there if I can, or he's kind enough to give me an extra that I'll be giving away in the big end of year celebrations as well. So there'll be plenty of opportunities to get some of these for free, as we say. Yeah, this one looks super cool.
So like, you know, like again, like in my very loose narrative, like this is the future of the eye. The one that's out right now is like, you know, the ancient past, maybe where it started, and you know, some eye adventures along the way. But that's kind of what I was going for, and I really like the ranch house. You know, I liked its footprint. I liked that it was like, it wasn't a particularly common building at the time. You know, like it was, you know, there was a lot of small townhouses and townhouses. But like, you know, the ranch house was not a huge, you know, there weren't tons of them. So again, in that contrarian sort of play, I liked just that kind of like eye, you know, ominous eye to one side of the ranch house. Was just like, it felt good to me in a design sort of way. So yeah, those are a handful, and there's still a couple that haven't been released yet. That'll come out soon. But yeah, that's kind of what I've been up to. And you know, I a lot of people have been requesting other buildings, so I have a couple new buildings in the hopper that if, you know, once Upland figures out their specs, there's some other exciting things that I think will be fun surprises for people that are into this.
Nice. I was going to ask about that. Yeah. Are you working on some newer ones as well? Do you have any sneaky peekies?
Yeah, I don't really have anything I can sneak peek yet. No, not yet. But I have been working with. There's a couple neighborhoods that I've been working with. Kind of do some collaborations with. So again, it's all in the process, and we're a little tied by, you know, Upland figuring out their specs. So I'm sure they'll figure it out soon.
Very good. And I just found I'll get you out, or you got yourself out of there. I just figured out the little Easter egg on the current one. The eye artifact, I believe this one. Yeah, look, you got your little umbrella logo there.
I think there's a little scrap over on the other side that's maybe there it is right there on that corner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's hard to see me. Kitty cat.
Yeah, there's a kitty cat. There's a llama over here on the other side, but
yeah.
Yeah, I try to make it fun for those that zoom in a little bit.
Yeah, it's cool. Very cool indeed. So yeah, maybe I can go back there. Did I save it? No, I didn't. Let's go back there and just have a look. The eye in Detroit.
I'll tell you something else that's really cool and kind of excites me.
When you first gave me the details for that, I was a bit confused. Yep.
Like if you zoom around a little bit, like there's people I don't even know that have like built ranch houses around the factory here and are decorating. One of these is mine, but then there's a few on the other side that are like I don't even know you, and you're decorating.
Yeah, there's one there. Look.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, that's very cool. Now, how have you said you purchased these two specifically because you had the footprint for both the factory and the showroom because ease of transport, yet
yes,
every single one of these boxes you've had to move over, you've had to do that manually one by one.
The factory builds them nice rows, and then I got to move them over and slapdash way and just throw them out there as fast as I can because otherwise it would take literally forever.
Yes. Yeah, it's definitely frustrating. So yeah, there's plenty available still over there at the moment. The eye candies $10.50 and 21,000 UPX, and the current season ones artifacts are available now too. You got a few of those, 26,250 and $10.50 as well. So really quite reasonable. And as I said, I'm exclusively using these for the seasons contests. Because I think they're awesome. And it was cool too. I didn't really have a reason to have one of those buildings apart from that was the kind of theme we went for in that neighborhood in South Lake Tahoe. So yeah,
that's cool. Ben, I can't thank you enough for your support, and I really appreciate you giving me the shout outs that you do. But it's been a little bit of a ride. It's fun. It's a fun part of my Upland adventure.
All right, very good. Before we wrap up, I'd like to. We kind of jumped over this, but normally we have a bit of a sticky beak look into what you've got going on and your history as far as your general account status. So yes, been around since March 7th, 2021. You said you ponied up the $5 pretty much immediately to go straight to Uplander. Currently 15.7 mil net worth. Whoa, you got a nice healthy balance there.
I got a
1.1 mil.
Stack some bags in case I want to, go crazy in Paris. But
we'll see. Absolutely. 471 properties, 27,000-ish spark, but obviously that's all in flux, about to be all over the place. What's going on with your progress charts? Very hodler-esque, very linear growth there in your number of properties. I always say this in the Upland Down Under podcast when we're looking at people's data. When you see a separation between the property's net worth and a mint net worth like that, it tends to indicate some. It's either usually one or two things. It's you're involved in node projects or you're buying up collections or certain areas on the back end after city releases.
That's definitely some node projects that I started getting involved in there, and and I still, if I find a community that I like and I like what they're doing, I tend to try to support them, and it's worth paying the premium to like own some properties in their neighborhoods, because there's a lot of people doing exciting things, and it deserves support.
Very good. And there's a big jump here. You've gone from 9.5 mil to 10.7.
Yeah, when was that? That was just a few months ago. That must have been. I spent some money somewhere. Was that? That wasn't Bermuda. No, that's
Bermuda collection, maybe Washington. Yeah,
that's DC. One of these jumps is when I bought those properties in the eye. I never as a baby player, I was like, oh man, I'm spending 500,000 UPX on one property or whatever. And, that was that's like a big jump for when you sort of cross that threshold, you're like, now I'm a player. Now I can play a little bit.
Yes, absolutely.
Not in your league yet, Ben, but
Yes, absolutely, mate. Now, there is quite a big difference between your mint net worth and your property's net worth. Do you have any interest in like pulling those back together or flipping those as part of the under mint opportunities that are out there? Is that something that's on your radar that interests you to play with?
it's not. Again, I feel like I came to passive earnings a little late in the game, so I focus on that a little more. So I like to see those close the gap a little bit. But again, like there's definitely properties I've paid. I've overpaid for that I'm totally fine overpaying for it, because it's again, the emotional connection is sometimes more important to me than the revenue.
Yes, absolutely. And of course, now you, I believe, are one of the people that are in the same boat as me. Is it that your Director's Block Explorer has been loosely applied to others as well? Am I remembering that correctly?
It's fun. It's funny if you. I think he's still. My initial Block Explorer, which was not this one, I discovered was basically they took somebody who asked for an umbrella or asked for an astronaut, and they just put an umbrella in his hand. And
that's what it was. Yeah,
so I did a lot of initially I did a lot of writing into support. I was like, can I? This doesn't seem right. Can I get a new one? No, we don't do revisions. And at one point, somebody decided they would, and so they made me a new one. And I think to this day, Upland Bureau, if you look in their assets, my old one is still floating around in there.
Oh, cool.
When I traded it back, but I did get a revised Block Explorer at one point.
Nice, and you got plenty of cool ones. So you're definitely somebody that's interested in these sorts of things.
Again, these are like some of these things are emotional connections. Like I earned them doing something, or I collected them for some reason, or although I did, do you remember when the Block Explorers you could first sell them, but the prices,
the prices in the millions and more for even people were selling their directors.
I thought it was bonkers at the time. Like I was like, wait, you're paying $300,000 for this? $300,000 for this? Like it was insane. But like at the time, it was like in general, I try to I've created a budget. Part of the game for me is like I create a budget and I try to stick to it. And so that was like that selling those first Block Explorers was game changing for me.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. And now we're looking at your vehicles. You've got quite a good selection here, even including the semi-trailer truck. Were you fortunate enough to get that, or did you have to get that on the second?
And I frequently thought how I should have sold it and bought it. I could have sold and rebought it many times and made a profit.
Yeah.
I'm excited about that monster truck. That's one of my prized Upland possessions.
Yep. That's only 10 mints out of that. Absolutely. Yes. Are you one of those people that are, where's me bloody the back of me trailer that we were supposed to get?
Like I'm like, like you're doing planes. Where's my semi truck?
Yes. Yeah. All right. And do you get involved much with the racing? I see you've got a stock car trainer series.
I have one. I'm not big in the racing. I'll do it, and I'm not competitive in it. I've realized it takes a lot of practice to be good at racing. But I do like cars. I like the cars. That look fun.
All right. And is there any of the other layer 2s that have, piqued and held your interest?
I would say for me, totems is the big one. Like I really like the totems. And I'm really excited about where they go with the burn mechanic. Like I know a lot of people. I've definitely burnt Block Explorers and bought Block Explorers to burn. I don't know if I kind of equate it like you play those like those element apps where you start with the 4 elements and you combine. Like I feel like the burn mechanic could go that direction where you're like, who knows what you could burn together and create what like. I think that could be a really exciting future mechanic. I hope they do something with that.
Yeah, it'd be great. We talked about that on one of the podcasts I did before too. It'd be, and you've mentioned it as well too, I believe. Like some of the tools and the mechanics that Upland is using, like the burn mechanics, like the automated transportation movements and the automated listing. Like we've seen these bloody gnomes. As soon as it finishes minting in the factory, 3 minutes later, it shows up in the showroom and it's up for sale.
Yeah.
Clearly, there's a mechanism there that we don't have access to. burn mechanics. I'd love to play with some kind of burn mechanics, like we've got, for example, like the 5 Christmas spiral set. Well, maybe you purchase all of those and you burn it and you get a freaking golden one. I don't know. It'd be cool to play around with.
It's like those duck block explorers. I was like, there's got to be. I got to have the whole set. I guarantee you're going to be able to like burn. I don't know if this is true, but like if you burn them all, you're going to get a giant duck or something.
Yeah.
I keep hoping that it'll just go fully random, like like those element apps where you're like, what if I burn this ornament with this NFL legit and I get something crazy? Like that could be really fun.
Yeah, especially like you involve AI in that process somehow. It could come up with all sorts of different things. Yes. Well, I do know when that duck evolution will come. It'll be when you sell one of them. You'll sell one of them, and then the next day, Murphy's Law, as they say.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, mate. Well, I think we covered a fair bit.
We covered a lot.
This
It's been
afternoon.
super fun, Ben. Thank you so much for having me, and it's been super fun talking shop, and I would do it anytime.
No worries, mate. So yeah, make sure you check out everything that UmbrellaBoy's got going on. Check out his Eye series as well. Get yourself a ranch house built if you don't have one already, especially at the moment where there's lots of people have a lot of extra sparklet available. You could probably get one of those done pretty quickly, I would imagine.
Get a whole bunch of them done really quickly.
Yeah. Get it done now before all the rebalancing kicks in and throws everything out of whack. So yes, links to everything UmbrellaBoy's got going on in the description, of course. And thank you very much to you as well for being willing to jump on board and have a chat.
All right. Be good, Ben. Thank you very much.
Stick around, mate. We'll do a few things after I press the button. And for everybody else, we'll catch you later.
If you have an Upland, NFT or Metaverse product, service or event to promote, or you're just someone engaged in Web3 who'd like to have a chat, send me, Ben68, a DM on Discord, or drop a YouTube comment to discuss and secure your spot.